So this is going to be a short video that demonstrates how I make the Sgrafitto element on one of these formed sculptures. So I've rolled the plank out or the slab out, and I've formed this vessel. And what I'll do next is coat the vessel with a black underglaze. And then when that dries to the proper extent, I'll start carving out my design. Okay, so I've put a couple of coats of underglaze on this, and I'll probably put a couple more on just to have a thick enough surface to work on. But I wanted to make a couple of points at this point. There's a trade-off between the interesting shape, sculptural shape with curves and depressions and whatnot, and how difficult that makes carving. Because basically, as a draftsman, I'm taking a sketch, which is a square flat surface, and transposing that onto a cylinder. And the more undulations and swerves and bumps and everything I have on that cylinder, the more difficult it is to get that interesting drawing on the surface and carve it out. And the second thing is I work in Colorado, and I have to do this process pretty quickly because it dries so quickly. And if it gets too dry, either before I put the underglaze on or more importantly when I'm carving, if this thing gets too dry, it doesn't work well. So I have to sort of balance out the sculptural shape and the interesting shape and the ability to carve it quickly in this atmosphere. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about the source of ideas that I have. I'm pulling from a bunch of different source material. Here, for example, I went to the Denver Museum of Art, and there's an old Dutch painting there by Cornelius Kettle from 1578. So I did a sketch of it, and then I use an application on my iPad called Sketchbook, and I uploaded that sketch I took a photograph of it and uploaded it over a layer of black. And then what I did is started sketching around that. So I started sketching over that, and added more and more things so that ultimately what I had is a black and white sketch on the iPad. That was my starting point for transferring an image onto a ceramic sculpture. Now, for this particular sculpture, I did a sketch directly on my iPad from an image that I saw online. I think I can't even remember where I saw it, but I saw it, I thought it would be interesting, and so I built a black layer. I then sketched in red, and then similarly on top of that, I started sketching in another layer of white on top of the red layer, and I did several layers like that, and ultimately got to this point. So this is the sketch that I'm going to use and transfer onto this sculpture. Okay, it's going to be a little bit difficult to do this on live because this is at an odd angle, but I'll carve a couple of lines just to give you a sense of what's going on here. And normally I use this smaller tool to start carving out lines along this image. Working on the outlines first, typically working on the outlines first, and then kind of expanding from there. Okay, so here we are at this point. I've got this bag over to keep the backside kind of moist a little bit. I have to work quickly, but you can see this is evolving out of the Sgrafitto carving process. The little sketch that I did should burn off in the fire, but it just helps guide me as I'm kind of pecking away at this in the middle of it. And here we have a piece ready for drying and firing.